The first thing we got to do if we're going to understand the text is to understand what does it mean to be heavenly minded, to seek the things that are above. What does that mean? Because it doesn't mean what we might think it means. It doesn't mean to sit around and daydream about heaven all day. Not that that's necessarily wrong, but that's not what Paul's talking about. He's not saying you sit around and think about how nice the food's going to taste and how awesome the parties are going to be and the music's going to be so great and I'm going to hear acoustic music all day long, every day, or heavy metal or whatever you like. The streets are going to be gold and it's going to be fluffy clouds, or that's actually not true, but maybe you're daydreaming that and you're thinking of all these wonderful things, and I'm going to have this awesome body, I'm not going to have any fat, I'm going to be so precise. And that's, again, I guess you could do that, but that's not what Paul's talking about. He's not saying daydream about heaven. The clue, the way you know that's not what he's talking about, those two little words, if then, or a better translation is say since then. This is established truth. You see it again in verse 3. He'll say, for you've died, or since you've died with Christ. He's saying there are some truths about reality as a Christian person you need to get your head around. Namely, you've been raised with Christ and you've died with Christ. You've died with Christ in his death. You've been raised with Christ in his resurrection. That as a Christian person, yeah, heaven's nice someday if you want to daydream about it, but that's in the future. What's true right now is you're in Christ. What's true of Jesus is now true of you. And you need to get your head around that. And the degree to which you get your head around that truth, it is to that degree that you're going to live the greater life, that you're going to start winning in marriage and parenting and all those other things, which is kind of counterintuitive, again, to us, isn't it? Think about, look at what he says. He says, you've been raised, past tense. Verse 3, he says, you have died. Your life is hidden with Christ in God. What's he talking about? You might think of Christians as a believing, or Christianity as teaching that we're going to be raised future. Someday, when we go to heaven, it'll be a resurrection, glorification, all that stuff. That's true, that Christianity does teach that, but it doesn't only teach that. There's a sense in which the moment you become a Christian, the moment you unite yourself to Christ by faith, so you understand I'm a sinner separated from God, I need Christ to save me, you call on the name of the Lord to be saved, and that moment when you put faith in Jesus, in an instant, you die with Christ, you're raised with Christ. In an instant, you're united like this, just like that. Paul says it this way in Galatians 2:20. I've been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and who gave his life for me. So Paul no longer identifies his life based on who he was or who he will be in the future. He puts all that aside and he says, my life is now defined by who I am in Christ. I've died with him. I've been raised with him. Everything that's true of Jesus is now true of you if you're a Christian.